Hi everyone, and thanks for being with me again. I'm going to talk today about values, Australian values versus those in the United States, because for decades, Australia has viewed its alliance with the United States as not just a strategic necessity, but a moral partnership. That is, a shared journey grounded in common values, cultural affinities, and a mutual commitment to a so-called international rules-based order. Now, these have become ritual incantations in Australian foreign policy, repeated by politicians and diplomats to justify our military engagement, trade alignments, and geopolitical loyalties. But such slogans are now threadbare. They mask a deeper truth that conservative America, the political force that currently dominates and distorts US democracy, is not just a different political movement. It is a different country altogether. The America that Australian policymakers believe they are allied with, that is rational, democratic, law-abiding, liberal in the classical sense, is fading. In its place is a deeply polarised, conspiratorial and often authoritarian political culture that finds expression in conservative America. This America is powered by a mixture of evangelical fundamentalism, libertarian extremism, white grievance politics, and aggressive nationalism. It just is divergent from Australian values. It actively undermines them. Donald Trump's presidency may have epitomised that transformation, but it didn't begin with him, nor will it end when he exits the political stage. The post-Trump Republican Party has embraced a style of politics that is combative, anti-scientific, anti-institutional, and increasingly flirtatious with violence. When January 6th happened, that is, a violent attempt to subvert democratic processes, only a portion of the Republican base recoiled. Many others, in fact, cheered. That speaks volumes about the moral and ideological distance between conservative America and countries like Australia. Shared values is the cornerstone of the US-Australia alliance. But what are these values really? Belief in democracy, rule of law, racial equality, gender equity, science, collective welfare. If those are indeed the values we imagine we share with the United States, we must be honest about how inconsistently and often violently they are interpreted and practiced in conservative America. In today's conservative America, democracy is increasingly conditional. If it produces undesired results, it's called rigged. Rule of law is selectively applied, weaponised against opponents, and excused when broken by allies. Freedom of speech has become a euphemism for a licence to harass, spread disinformation, and incite hatred. Racial equality is seen as wokeness gone mad, and efforts to redress historical injustice are smeared as critical race theory or cultural Marxism. Science and public health are politicised. COVID-19 vaccines, climate change, and environmental protections are now partisan battlegrounds. These are not values that Australians, broadly speaking, align with. They are not part of our political DNA. While no country is without its issues, Australia has managed, often imperfectly, to build a more cohesive social democracy, one that values egalitarianism, respects expertise, and tries, though fails at times, to reconcile with its past. The culture and political rift between us and conservative America is not a crack, it's a canyon. There are strong temptations to believe that because we speak the same language, enjoy the same movies, or consume the same tech products, we share a culture. But pop culture consumption is not cultural affinity. Cultural values emerge from how societies govern themselves, protect their most vulnerable, debate the futures, and understand truth. Australia does not have a gun culture. Conservative America does. We do not have a dominant evangelical movement shaping our laws. Conservative America actually does. We do not demonise universal health care or deny the reality of anthropogenic climate change. Conservative America does. In fact, many aspects of American conservatism would be unrecognisable and politically untenable in Australia. This is not a simple cultural difference. It's a foundational divergence in how we define freedom, justice, truth, and responsibility. Cultural affinity, in this sense, is an illusion. The assumption that we are like-minded democracies no longer holds up under scrutiny. The myth of the rules-based order, Australia's strategic justification for alignment with the US, is often rooted in the idea that both nations are defenders of a rule-based international order. But in practice, conservative America doesn't respect international rules. It abides by them when convenient and flouts them when they conflict with domestic political goals. Under Republican leadership, the US has withdrawn from the global treaties, undermined international institutions like the United Nations, blocked climate agreements, and resorted to a unilateral military action. It believes in American supremacy, economically, militarily, and morally. The rules-based order to them is code for everything else following America's rules. Australia, which benefits from multilateral institutions and rules-based trade, suffers when these norms are undermined. Our reliance on a nation that increasingly disdains these systems puts us in strategic jeopardy. The contradiction is obvious. We tie ourselves to a power that no longer shares our worldview or respects the frameworks that protect our sovereignty. Strategic democracy or strategy naivety, that's what we need to be asking. Despite all this, Australia continues to deepen its dependence on the United States in defence, intelligence and foreign policy. AUKUS, the recent trilateral security pact, symbolises this entrenchment. But rather than reassess whether we are tying ourselves to a stable and principled partner, we double down as if repeating the alliance mantra can truly make it true. This is not strategy, it's inertia. Or worse, it's cowardice, masquerading as realism. It reflects a reluctance to acknowledge that the world is changing, that alliances must evolve, and that clinging to outdated narratives about America's role in the world could lead us into moral and strategic blind alleys. It is not anti-American to critique the transformation of America's political landscape. It is, in fact, pro-Australian, a necessary act of democracy's self-preservation, in fact. The time has come for Australia to reconsider its blind faith in the US alliance and to evaluate America not as it was, but as it is, fractured, erratic, and increasingly captured by a form of conservatism that is hostile to many of our values. We should be forging new partnerships in Asia, strengthening our independence in foreign policy and developing a more sovereign defence capability. That does not mean abandoning the US. It means maturing beyond a relationship defined by dependency and myth. The truth is that conservative America is not our twin, our ally in values, or even our cultural cousin. It is a different country, ideologically, culturally, morally. We owe it to ourselves to stop pretending otherwise. The slogan that once justified our alignment, shared values, cultural affinities, rules-based order, no longer apply. They are no longer true. They are lies. And if we continue to base our foreign and domestic security on them, we may find that we are the ones left unmoored in a storm not of our making, but of our choosing. Let me know what you think. Also, Remember to subscribe to my channel, ring the bell for further notifications, do what you need to do. It's an interesting conversation and I'd like you to be a part of it as well. In the meantime, take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, be safe.